History is filled with battles that changed the fate of civilizations, but few moments in history were as decisive as the Battle of Sentinum. Imagine a battlefield in central Italy during the late summer of 295 BCE, the sun blazing down on tens of thousands of soldiers, the smell of sweat, blood, and iron thick in the air. Warriors from the forests of Gaul, tall, imposing, and painted with fearsome symbols, screamed and banged their shields, ready to exact revenge for the humiliations of the past, including the infamous sack of Rome a century earlier. Alongside them, the Samnites, fierce, disciplined, mountain-dwelling fighters wearing bronze armor and wolf pelts, stood shoulder to shoulder with allies from the Etruscans and Umbrians, creating a coalition more powerful than Rome had faced before. Across the field, the Roman army prepared not yet an empire, but a republic fighting for survival, with its legions forming tight lines of shields and spears, ready to confront this unprecedented threat. Rome understood the stakes. If they lost, the republic could fracture, its territory divided, and the dream of Roman dominance in Italy might never come to pass. Every man in the Roman camp knew that today, more than any other day, would determine whether Rome would endure or be crushed under the weight of its enemies. The road to Sentinum had been paved with decades of conflict. Rome had already fought the Samnites in 3 grueling wars that had stretched the Republic's endurance, leaving both sides bloodied and hardened. The humiliation of the Caudine Forks, where Roman soldiers had been forced to march under the yoke in submission, still haunted the memories of Rome's leaders and citizens alike. The Gauls, remembered for their sack of Rome in 390 BCE, had long been a spectre in the Roman imagination, feared for their ferocity, unpredictability, and sheer physical power. By the time 295 BCE arrived, Rome's expansion and consolidation of central Italy had alarmed its neighbors, and the Samnites, determined to halt the growing power of the Republic, formed a coalition with the Gauls, Etruscans, and Umbrians, promising mutual destruction of Rome. Rome's Senate, recognizing the existential danger, dispatched 2 of its most capable commanders, Publius Decius Mus and Quintus Fabius Maximus Rullianus. Fabius, a calculating strategist who valued patience and discipline, would lead one wing, while Decius, fiery and fearless, commanded the other, ready to inspire the troops through courage and, if necessary, the ultimate act of devotion to the gods. As the armies converged near the town of Sentinum, tension crackled like electricity in the air. The battlefield stretched over rolling hills, patches of dense forest and open plains, ideal terrain for both maneuver and ambush. Rome positioned its forces with military precision, Fabius on the right, commanding a wing composed of disciplined Roman legions, and allied troops, while Decius took the left, facing the terrifying charge of the Gallic warriors. Cavalry units, though smaller in number than their enemy counterparts, were strategically placed to harass flanks and pursue retreating troops. Across the field, the coalition arranged itself with Gauls confronting Decius, Samnites facing Fabius, and Etruscans and Umbrians supporting the center. The battlefield, once peaceful farmland, was now alive with the sounds of shouting commanders, clanging armor, war horns, and the rhythmic pounding of drums, every detail amplifying the sense that history itself was about to be written. The battle began with an explosion of ferocity as the Gauls charged the Roman left. Their war cries were deafening, their sheer size and ferocity giving them an early advantage. Roman shields shook under the impact, and spears splintered under the blow. The soldiers of the left wing wavered, pressed back by the ferocious onslaught, while Decius Mus, rode among them, shouting encouragement, rallying men who were moments from panic. Amid this chaos, Decius made a decision that would become legendary. Calling upon the sacred ritual of devotio, he dedicated himself and the enemy to the gods of the underworld, declaring that his death would secure Rome's victory. With unwavering resolve, he charged into the thick of the Gauls, leading by example. His death was swift, but its impact reverberated across the battlefield. The Roman soldiers, inspired by their consul's ultimate sacrifice, turned fear into fury, rallying to push the Gauls back and stabilize the left wing. Meanwhile, Fabius on the right confronted the Samnites, a disciplined and highly experienced army. Unlike Decius, Fabius relied not on dramatic displays of courage, but on strategy, observation, and careful manipulation of the battlefield. He noted that the Samnites, confident in their strength, were overextending, leaving gaps in their formation. He shifted reserves into key positions, used feigned retreats to lure enemy troops into vulnerable positions, and controlled the tempo of the fight with meticulous precision. The Samnites were formidable, yet they could not match the calculated pressure of the Roman legions. Gradually, the momentum shifted. The discipline and cohesion of the Roman forces allowed them to exploit mistakes, wear down their opponents, and gain the upper hand. The clash of armies became a symphony of violence. Mud, churned by hooves and boots, arrows darkened the sky, and swords and shields rang in relentless rhythm. Amidst this chaos, Roman soldiers fought not just for survival, but for the vision of a united Italy under Rome's authority. The battle raged for hours, a brutal contest of strength, will, and endurance. The Gauls, initially dominant, began to lose cohesion as their lines buckled under coordinated Roman attacks. Cavalry units, expertly maneuvered by Roman officers, harried their flanks, sowing confusion and breaking formations. On the Roman left, inspired by Decius's sacrifice, the troops surged forward with renewed vigor, while the right, under Fabius, systematically dismantled the Samnite lines. The Etruscans and Umbrians, who had been expected to reinforce the coalition, were drawn away or hesitant, leaving the allied army vulnerable. By the afternoon, the coalition's morale began to falter. The Gauls broke first, retreating chaotically, while the Samnites held for as long as possible, but were ultimately surrounded and forced to flee or perish. The battlefield, once a scene of chaos, slowly transformed into a testimony to Roman discipline, strategy, and the extraordinary courage of its leaders. The aftermath of Sentinum was devastating for the coalition, but transformative for Rome. Thousands of soldiers lay dead on both sides, including Decius Mus, whose death became a symbol of sacrifice and heroism. Yet Rome's victory reshaped the political and military landscape of Italy. The Samnites, though still a threat in subsequent years, were now on the path to eventual subjugation. The Gauls, once feared as a constant menace, would never again threaten Rome with the same intensity. Etruscans and Umbrians began to align with Rome, recognizing the Republic's rising power. Beyond the immediate military outcome, Sentinum instilled confidence and unity within Rome itself. The Republic realized that victory was not merely a product of numbers or brute force, but a combination of courage, discipline, leadership, and strategy. Sentinum demonstrated the importance of adaptability, sacrifice, and the relentless will to survive, qualities that would define Roman military culture for centuries to come. The Battle of Sentinum also highlights the dual nature of Roman military leadership. Decius Mus exemplified courage and devotion, demonstrating that a single act of bravery could inspire thousands and turn the tide of a critical engagement. His ritual of devotio symbolized the Roman belief that personal sacrifice could appease the gods and influence the outcome of war. Fabius Maximus Rullianus, on the other hand, represented intellect, patience, and tactical mastery. By carefully reading the battlefield, exploiting enemy weaknesses, and managing his troops with precision, Fabius ensured that the Roman army remained effective under extreme pressure. Together, these two commanders embodied the qualities that would make Rome an enduring power: the seamless integration of inspiration and strategy, courage and calculation, action and discipline. Sentinum, therefore, is not just a story of victory, but a lesson in leadership and the interplay of human qualities that define success. Geography and terrain also played a crucial role in the battle. The rolling hills, open plains, and scattered forests of central Italy provided both opportunities and challenges. Roman commanders familiar with the terrain positioned their legions to maximize defensive advantage while allowing flexibility for counterattacks. The Gauls, relying on sheer force, struggled to coordinate in such mixed terrain, while the Samnites, though disciplined, were constrained by the layout of the battlefield and the disciplined formations of the Roman legions. The careful use of terrain, combined with timing and coordination between wings, allowed Rome to leverage its strengths effectively and exploit the weaknesses of a numerically significant but less cohesive coalition. Sentinum also had a profound psychological impact. The memory of past humiliations at the hands of the Gauls and the Samnites hung over the Roman psyche, yet the victory transformed fear into confidence. Soldiers understood that Rome could withstand coordinated opposition from the most formidable enemies in Italy. Civilians and allies recognized that the Republic was a power worth supporting, and potential rebels reconsidered resistance in the face of demonstrated Roman resilience. Sentinum became a turning point, not only in military terms, but also in shaping the perception of Rome as the dominant authority in Italy, paving the way for political consolidation and the eventual expansion beyond the peninsula. The battle further shaped Roman military doctrine. Observations made during Sentinum influenced legionary organization, battlefield communication, and the integration of allied troops into the Roman command structure. The importance of leadership at multiple levels, the value of morale, and the combination of tactical flexibility with disciplined formations became core principles that would define Roman warfare in the coming centuries. Sentinum illustrated that victories required more than brute force. They required a deep understanding of human psychology, coordination, and foresight, an understanding that Rome would master in future campaigns across the Mediterranean and beyond. Beyond tactics and strategy, Sentinum tells a story of human courage, leadership, and the interplay of individual actions with collective destiny. Decius Mus's selfless act of devotio was a moment where personal sacrifice met historical necessity, inspiring a generation of Romans to value courage and duty above personal safety. Fabius Maximus Rullianus's meticulous command demonstrated the power of intellect, patience, and foresight in warfare. The Roman legions' steadfastness in the face of overwhelming odds reflected the disciplined spirit of a republic that refused to surrender. Every clash of sword and shield, every rallying cry, every strategic maneuver converged to create a defining moment where Rome's future was secured, demonstrating that history is shaped not just by forces of nature or numbers, but by the choices, sacrifices, and courage of men willing to fight for their vision of civilization. The long-term significance of Sentinum cannot be overstated. It solidified Rome's control over central Italy, weakening the Samnites, diminishing the threat of the Gauls, and bringing other Italian states into Rome's sphere of influence. The victory allowed Rome to consolidate its territory, secure its borders, and unify the peninsula under its authority, setting the stage for further expansion into southern Italy and eventually across the Mediterranean. The battle also reinforced the Republic's faith in its military system, its ability to integrate allies, and its reliance on both strategic planning and personal valor. In essence, Sentinum was the crucible in which Rome transformed from a powerful regional city-state into a dominant force capable of shaping the destiny of Italy and eventually the Mediterranean world. The Battle of Sentinum stands as a testament to the Roman combination of courage, discipline, and strategic brilliance. It demonstrates how leadership, sacrifice, and the ability to adapt to changing conditions can turn the tide against overwhelming odds. It is a story of bravery and calculation, inspiration and endurance, blood and destiny, all converging in one decisive day that shaped the trajectory of a civilization. Through the acts of men like Decius Mus and Fabius Maximus Rullianus, through the steadfastness of the legions, and through the lessons learned in strategy and sacrifice, Rome emerged victorious and set the stage for centuries of growth, conquest, and influence. Sentinum was more than a battle. It was the moment when Rome claimed its place as the dominant power in Italy, the turning point where a young republic demonstrated that its destiny would be forged not by chance, but by courage, will, and unwavering resolve.